The Mike Heller Show, noon to 3 on the Game.
Milwaukee's most listened to sports station and heard on the iHeart app by fans everywhere. This is WRNW-FM Milwaukee, 97.3 The Game.
Trying to get back into the game on the first play of the fourth quarter. And the handoff to Jacobs. Jacobs bouncing left, good second effort to the goal line, and this time he is in. Snap to Braden Mann, swing of the right leg, and the kick is up by Jake Elliott, and it is good. Here's the snap to Love, bootlegging right with three receivers right. He throws it back left into the end zone, going for Bo Melton, and it is intercepted in the end zone. And that'll do it for sure.
Ends in disappointment, and with a blown call. Just another bookend blown call to end the night. Didn't cost the Packers the game. They weren't the better team, and no, did not deserve to win. But as we knew from Clint Eastwood in Unforgiven, Butch, deserve ain't got nothing to do with it. Play games 60 minutes long to keep the score up on a big thing in the stadium. More points you win and you keep playing in the postseason. Fewer points and you're going home. And that's where the Packers find themselves right now. You heard the calls. Wayne Larrabee, Larry McCarron, right here on your home of the Green Bay Packers. And Wayne joins us right now, as he always does, brought to you by Steam Fitters Local 601. Learn more by visiting steam601.org and by the National Fire Sprinklers Association. Visit them at nfsa.org. Wayne, good morning, my friend.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
We're going through it. You know how it is, going through it. Season only ends well for one team in this league, truly well. So we're going through it on a Monday after the season is over. At least it wasn't as bad for you, I don't think, as it was for Schneidman and the rest of the press corps, who got a firsthand look at the savages that are Eagle fans. And they are savages. They love their team, but they're This is from Schneidman's account last night. We've lost contain here in the press box. Drunk woman who's an Eagle fan right in front of the window is heckling Robert Saleh and other bald folks in our row, calling them, quote, bald mother.
Yeah.
Rob Demoski, also a proud bald American like I am, Wayne, just banged back on the glass and told her to, quote, sit the down. Philadelphia, everybody.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
I'd like to say that's an anomaly, Butchie, or, gee, that could happen at any stadium in the NFL. But I know better. That's Philly. That's Philly right there.
Yeah.
So, Wayne, in the black box analysis of where this game went south, what is your analysis as to where this game was ultimately lost for the Packers?
In the trenches. And I mentioned it in the first half, and Larry McCarron confirmed. The Eagles were winning their defensive front against the Packers' offensive front. And you saw it especially in the running game, where all of a sudden Jacobs was getting hit much earlier in his carries than I had seen virtually all season. They were really winning the battle up front in that. And they were playing a soft cover two shell basically most of the day downfield. So their front line got it done.
For the first time all year, Jacobs only got what he got and didn't get more. First time all year, and I didn't like it. I said to myself, well, he always gets another yard or two or more.
Yeah.
He's not getting anything extra. They were tackling really well. And then compounding the disaster was losing Jenkins. And God bless Kadeem Telfort and Travis Glover, names that I have not mentioned once this calendar year or last calendar year, Butchie. Did you ever talk about the stylings of sixth-round pick Travis Glover prior
all
to?
The time when I'm breaking down game film,
right?
For sure. I didn't put it out there on Twitter, but I was breaking it down every game.
They were overwhelmed, Wayne.
Yes,
both those guys.
It was
You know, it's tough, and the injuries added up as the game went along, and
it got worse from there.
You know, if the Packers, somebody was saying, I don't know who it was, one of the writers was saying, you know, if the Packers had figured out a way to win that game, would they be able to field a team to go to Detroit next week? You know what I mean? That's how many people were going down in that game, and they were big-time injuries. Those guys weren't coming back next week, trust me. So it was difficult. But I thought in the trenches, guys, the Eagles kind of had the better of it. And if you win the trenches in the NFL, you're going to win the game. I know we all focus on the big play wide receivers and the quarterbacks and even the running backs, but boy, if you're not getting it done up front, it's going to be hard to win that game. And then the turnover factor, to lose the fumble on the opening kickoff, and there's such great debate as to whether it was helmet-to-helmet contact. Larry said it was a helmet. He thought Oren Burks got his helmet on the ball and triggered it loose. And then there was the pile-up. And we all know that in a pile-up, anything can happen. And that ball can change possession 2-3 times. But apparently Keyshawn Nixon came out of the pile with it, and that's what everyone saw and couldn't believe the Packers gave up the ball there. And that got things off to a rocky start.
Wayne, why did the Packers finish 2-4 to end this season? We just, we've always seen them go the other way, whether it was Jordan Love and his play. The majority of the years we've seen this Packer team finish strong and then possibly, and then losing the playoffs. But, playoffs is a coin flip, but this team was not trending in the right direction at all.
Offensively, it was not. But I'll agree with you there. I thought defensively they were trending fine. They were getting a lot of mileage out of what they have defensively, and I thought they played well, including
I thought they played well. I agree with you. Yeah, for sure.
But offensively, something was missing. And we saw it, and we commented on the air in the New Orleans game. And it was a blowout of a bad New Orleans team. They had all their injuries and all that. Fine. Okay, nobody cared. But you could see something was missing from the fluidity, the accuracy, of the quarterback and of the offense in general. And I think they kind of struggled down the stretch, and they were not trending up offensively going into the playoffs. And so you're hoping they could flip a switch and boom, all of a sudden they're back to the playoff team they were a year ago. That doesn't happen very often in the NFL, unless you're a veteran team with Super Bowl pelts on the wall. Then it happens, but not if you're the youngest team in the NFL making your way for a second run in the playoffs.
Do you expect them to be aggressive as far as the wide receiver market goes?
Do I expect them to be? I don't know. Better question for Goody rather than me. But if it was up to me, I think they've got to look for a number one receiver. Is somebody from this group going to emerge? I don't know. And Christian Watson, was he emerging? He was a threat, but I don't know if he was number one status. You know what I mean? That's a special player. That's a player that makes all those other guys who are really good even better. And I don't know if the Packers have that in this receiving core. They've got very good receivers. They have very good depth in their receiving core. But do they have the number one guy who week in, week out is on the first page of the opponent's scouting report? That's the question. And that's something Goody will have to address. And, receivers do pop open in free agency, more so than pass rushers and cornerbacks. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, but how many of them turn out to be really worth, whatever you pay them? I just don't know if, everyone's saying T. Higgins. I have a sneaky, worrying suspicion that if the Packers were to get him, they would realize just the gap between him and Jamar Chase that still exists, even when he's the number one guy.
The Eagles traded a high draft pick, a couple of picks in addition to that, for Jahan Dotson from Washington, right? And what did he end up doing this year?
I think it was a fifth. I don't know if it was a high draft pick. They traded a big draft pick for A.J. Brown. And that has worked out.
That worked out. But Jahan Dotson was a disappointment. They traded some resources for him, and he was a disappointment. So,
exactly.
He caught 19 balls this year. He caught a touchdown pass on Sunday. The wise guys are going to say that at us. That's for sure. Okay, fine. Jalen Hurts also had an hour and a half to wait for him to uncover.
7 seconds. 7 seconds in the pocket there. Again, I don't know how you can expect anyone to cover it. Evan Williams was trying, and he almost committed a holding penalty as Dotson reversed course in the end zone on that one. But what are you going to do? Let me get to Jordan Love. Has he, in your eyes, developed some less than great habits that need to be sanded down just a bit this offseason?
Better question for Tom Clements, a quarterback coach, than me. I thought Love grew as a player. Okay. Did he finish on the hot streak? Did he ever reach the hot streak he was on, the heater he was on at the end of last year through the last 8 games? No, I didn't see that. But there were reasons for that. Maybe the injuries, that type of thing. He was dinged up a couple of times. But I think as a quarterback, as a leader, as a guy running the huddle, running the line of scrimmage, that type of thing, I do think he improved. Guys, you have to understand, and nobody will agree with me on this, but there was a 3-year process put into place. We've just finished year 2. Next year is when this team is supposed to come to full maturity. And I think next year is going to be their best team, because I do think they're going to add some pieces in free agency. And I do think they're going to have another good draft. And I do think from this draft, there will be 2 players who will play a prominent role. Jordan Morgan, the first-round draft choice, will start on this offensive line. And Marshawn Lloyd will be the guy who comes in to spell Marshawn Lloyd, the running back, who comes in to spell Josh Jacobs. And he will add a dimension that, as good as Emmanuel Wilson was, and I thought he was very good this year, and Chris Brooks was very good this year in his role, this guy has another dimension. And I think that those are the things that are going to happen next year that will make this team, really, I think, a top-notch team next year.
All right. Well, while we're painting Bob Ross paintings with the happy little trees, those who know what I'm talking about, I'll paint you an even happier picture. And this is a great tweet from Zach Cruz, covers the Packers for USA Today and manages the Packers Wire. He writes, the 2023 Eagles nosedived, losing their final 3, including a wipeout loss in the wild card round at Tampa, 31-9. They lost Kelsey and Fletcher Cox in the offseason. Those guys, to me, are Hall of Fame caliber players, whether they make it or not. Absolute studs. The heartbeat of their offensive line and defensive line. What did Howie Roseman do? He was aggressive in free agency, plucked the crown jewel from a division rival in Barkley, and hit home runs with picks 22 and 40. That would be Quinion Marshall and Cooper DeJean, even though DeJean started slow because he was hurt. Now they're an elite team.
Yeah, Quinion
Big offseason upcoming for Brian Gutekunst.
It's huge.
That's the exact template for optimism. Happy trees, people. Look, They did it. We're in a much better spot than they were.
Yeah, no doubt, and much younger talent, and this team, and again, the people on this team, I think, that third year. Who's the guy? There was a quarterback genius who said, you don't know about the quarterback until 3 years into the mission. This will be the third year for Jordan Love coming up, as the starting quarterback. And that was Mike Holmgren who said that, by the way, who's a candidate for Pro Football Hall of Fame this year. I do think, and I've felt this way throughout most of this season, guys, the victory over Dallas last year and the way the Packers played the Niners in the playoffs last year changed the perception of us on the outside, of front office people who decide, hey, we're going to go for this, and the players and coaches. And God bless them. No problem with that. Expectations changed. The process never changed. And people argue with me about that all the time. The process is the process. Next year, this should be one hell of a football team.
Trust the process, Butchie.
I do, but I hear that every year. It seems like the season ends for the Packers. Next year.
No.
Wait, you're right. Like, this is different. No, but it is. I've lived it long, and it is always a next year.
Don't lecture him. I'm
just saying, as a fan, like, I can't.
I've lived it long.
I'm just saying, like, Wayne lives it, and he's closer than I am. I'm just saying, as a Packer fan, it feels like that's all it is. This does feel different. You've got Jordan Love. You've got, like, it's not. But it just always seems like we have to go do something. And it always, we're in every conversation, but we never pull a trigger. We're in every this, and it never I agree, Wayne. I think we both agree with this. I think there will be a big splash by Brian Gutekunst. I do. And if not, I'm going to sit here and say they did nothing again. But I do think it'll be different.
Yeah, and again, I don't know what happened down the stretch. I'm not sure why Jordan Love, the accuracy, the sharpness. Is that a good word for this, guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Jordan wasn't terrible. He wasn't bad at all.
Terrible, but he wasn't great.
But he wasn't sharp the way he was. Just where the passes, where he hit the receivers with the passes on a consistent basis, wasn't quite like it was the year before. At least I'm just judging from the outside in. I don't have your next gen stats, and I'm not going to quote all these things that the writers
got the eye
write.
test. I like the eye test better than all the stats. I'm an eye test guy anyway.
Eye test. Was he as sharp down the stretch this year as he was last year? No. Do I know why? No. But I'm just being honest with you. And I'm sure, again, the writers will have 17 metrics to tell you why. But I don't know. I just know they weren't quite as sharp. They weren't playing with the same momentum down the stretch. And it wasn't just the one-loss record down the stretch. It just was, it seemed off a little bit. Meanwhile, the defense, I thought, continued to perform well. And so I think there's a lot to hang your hat on there. I think they need a pass rusher. I think they need another cornerback. I think, those things, and they probably need a number one receiver to emerge or pick one up in free agency. Those are the things of the offseason, the big picture things I look at.
All right, here's your list of potential free agent wide receivers. T. Higgins is number one. It gets thin quick after that. Chris Godwin is 2. Productive, beloved. He broke his ankle this year. Not great. Marquise Brown, 28 years old, injured on a prove-it deal, not sure. Amari Cooper, 31, no thanks. Keenan Allen, 33, super no thanks. DeAndre Hopkins, 48 years old, and hell no. And then beyond that, I mean, what do you want? Stephon Diggs? That said, I got a piece of paper, Wayne. I'm just gonna slide this over to you.
Complex right now.
No, I got a name on this piece of paper. I'm gonna slide it over to you. Would you like to look at the name on my piece of paper?
Sure.
You sure?
Are you talking trade or free agency? Don't forget, they could still trade for somebody.
What does that piece of paper say?
I knew that's what it was putting down.
That.
What does it say?
I'd love it.
What does it say?
Devontae Adams.
You goddamn right it does. In the great Walter White. Like Walter White in Breaking Bad. Goddamn right it does. I want it. Let's go. Let's go.
Between you and I, I'd be all for it.
1,000,000%.
I don't know. I'd be all for it, but I don't know. I don't know if that would happen. But I do know this. He'd have a tremendous impact on that receiver room, in many ways outside of on the field. But, okay. I don't know.
All right. We'll see. Wayne, great season by you guys. We deal with the sadness. We process the grief. We will still be talking throughout the year. You've got college hoops to call, I assume, this winter?
Yep. Yeah, I got 3 games this week.
You going skiing this winter, or have you already gone?
I've been out there going skiing in February and March out there.
Are you aware of the ski patrol strike that is crippling the resorts out there?
Crippling Park City Mountain, and they just signed the deal. They're back to normal on Thursday. Yep. But it never impacted Deer Valley. Deer Valley was
because they were owned by the other conglomerate that's gobbled up all the ski resorts. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Is that part of the Icon network or the Vail network?
Icon. Vail is Vail's the evil empire of skiing. At least that's what skiing is.
They're like the Yankees of skiing, except you're a Yankee fan, so you don't.
No, I'm a Yankee fan, so I don't agree with that at all.
I can guarantee you, Butchie knows zero about this ski patrol fiasco.
But and the other factor,
before
Butchie doesn't care. He doesn't.
No,
know
you're right. Exactly.
Care.
Well, he's a dual threat.
See, that's me on NASCAR. I don't know and I don't care.
Yeah.
There you
I've
go.
been up to Vail, though. It's a good city. Snowy.
Wayne, we'll talk soon. Thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Yeah. So, Butchie, they were refusing a $2 raise for the ski patrol.
Yeah.
And so they couldn't police the mountain, so there were lift lines 2 hours long.
For a $2
2-hour lift lines. People had spent thousands of dollars planning their big ski vacation to these top tier resorts, and they're like, "What the hell?"
Oh, yeah, and I've been up there. I know it's crazy.
They're like, They're like, ski patrol people make $20 an hour. That's not a lot for doing the most dangerous work on the mountain.
Correct.
Saving people who are getting stuck in bad spots, and they're like, "We want 22," and they're like, "No, can't do it."
That doesn't surprise me.
Yes. All right, coming up. I want Mike Heller right in front of me to stand here and disavow his allegiance to a false god known as replay. After last night, if that doesn't do it, nothing will. He's next. You're listening to The Game.
It's everything you love about your car radio in the palm of your hand.
Very cool update. 5 stars, guys.
Grab the contest rules for 97.3 The Game at thegamemke.com.
Message marked urgent.
We're here for you now on the NicolayLaw.com talk and text line.
Hey, I'm just trying to find some answers here.
At 1-877-794-1973.
High end over end boot. And waiting for it, a yard deep in the end zone, left side. Here comes Dixon to the 10-20. Finds a hole, 25, fights his way. Hammered down, ball comes loose. Eagles say they've got it just short of the 30-yard line. And a pile-up. Keyshawn Nixon into a crowd. And he got hit hard. The ball may have popped loose, and they're trying to unravel the pile.
Yeah, when they unraveled it, they said the Eagles had the ball. And yet, despite all the Kings cameras and all the Kings VCRs and all the wise men assembled in dark rooms in New York City, Brian Butch, to look at the videographic evidence of what really happened, they somehow said, yeah, nah. Ladies and gentlemen, replay. Review, expedited replay, automatic replay, challenge replay. It's all garbage. It's all a false god. And we welcome on now Mike Keller of The Mike Keller Show, noon to 3, who has been a huge believer and proponent of getting it right. Yay, replay. I call upon thee to repent, Mike Keller. Repent your evil ways. Renounce this Satan's tool of sports known as replay.
No. How about that? No.
You're going to stay stuck on stupid, I guess.
I would have, yeah, go ahead and do that. You know,
how can you
what I would have
faith?
liked to have had was a pool reporter with the official last night to say, this was what we had on replay and why we didn't overturn the call on the field. Because I've got it on my screen right now. The overhead view, you can see Keyshawn Nixon with the ball, but I would guess, and I didn't think Fox did a very good job in the booth either with it.
They stunk.
To go to detail on
them.
what it is that they were looking at, because at the point that the overhead camera has it, Keyshawn has it, but the ball is moving. And then obviously when the pile unpiled, he didn't have the ball. So you would have to have trusted that when the overhead camera shot has him with the ball, but it doesn't appear to be 100% control. That they said, well, by the letter of the law, we can't.
Controlled. It was sandwiched between two chunks of bare forearm skin in his arms. That's control. It only has to happen for a second. He's clearly down.
I don't know what that rule is if it only has to happen for a second. I mean, and nor do you, apparently. I mean, I think they overturn it. Here's my issue that you effing cherry pick these things all the time.
Cherry pick?
But yeah, this is a cherry pick.
This is a playoff game.
Right. And I think that Keyshawn Nixon gets it back. But I don't know the letter of the law if they showed him with full control, because as the overhead camera has it, the ball's constantly moving, even though he's got it. But you
okay?
If
I'm hearing you right,
if I'm hearing
you right, you are not even going as far as to say that this was a bad call, because you sound like a lawyer now.
No, I think it's a bad call, Steve.
You think?
I think it's a bad call.
Butchie, he thinks it's a bad call.
Is this what we're going to do? I mean, is this our whole thing this morning? Is that we're going to do this again?
No, I want to get into your thoughts about why the Packers lost.
What I want for replay, why can't I finish? What I want for replay is for the chance for replay to get it right. And I think quite often when replay has the chance to get it right, it does. Now, yesterday, I think this is a gray area, because there's an element to this rule that I think we probably don't know, and that was full control, undeniable control of the football, because when they unwrapped the pile, in real time, they couldn't see that. When they unwrapped the pile, Philadelphia has it. No, I mean, we agree on that part, right?
Yeah, but again, this is not Philly street justice where they can just steal your car in broad daylight. You don't get
Every
to just steal
fumble
the
is
football.
handled this way. Every fumble is handled this way.
but
Whoever
if
comes out
replay
of the
shows
bottom of the pile with it.
Right, but if replay shows a clear possession, the play is over. And I've seen replays in which they see it and they go, oop, he got it back before the pile up, and they have reversed the call. What I am most dismayed at is not just your refusal to repent in front of a false god known as replay, but that you won't even acknowledge that this was a screamingly egregious failure of replay. At
Because
least
I think
admit that.
If you brought on 16 white hats that work in the NFL, they would tell you I think they would have a split opinion on the replay of it.
Really?
That's what I'm saying to you.
Well, I want to hear a pool report.
You don't think that 16 white hats would differ on what they saw on video replay of this?
If you had them at a bar over beers, no, they would all agree terrible non-overturn. If they're working their official capacity for the league, which has ulterior motives sometimes, who knows? It could be a split.
So now you're going to take this to an ulterior motive? You think this was an ulterior motive decision?
Why would they not go, oh, he's got it, overturned? It seemed clear as day to me. Butchie, would you not agree? It seemed clear as day. Why not make the simple, easy call? The point of replay is not to have a chance, Mike, to maybe get it right. It should be right every single time. Otherwise, the game is not worth interrupting and
even
redoing and everything else.
Right every single time in any replay that we've ever had in any sport.
Right, which is why I want to get rid of it.
No,
and then we would have to not worry about all these stoppages
and again,
in play.
We have the same concept here every time we go here. I just want them to get the ones that they can get right. Are they going to get everything right? No. But I don't want 0 as opposed to 90%. You want 0, and I want them to have replay get it right 85 to 90% of the time. I'm much happier with that. But we won't agree on that. And that's
Can I just inject here quick?
Yes.
Just throw my hand up here. Why haven't we heard from the NFL as far as why that doesn't? Like, that's to me, like, where's take ownership in the call. Like, whether it's one way or the other, come out and say this is why, because there's no accountability. The NFL doesn't want
only
that.
Pool report on request, right? So was there not a pool report request put in to speak with the officials last night?
I doubt there was, because the rest of the game unfolded so overwhelmingly, mostly in the favor of the Eagles. It was decided that play and that call was a non-factor.
Yeah, I would like to.
Not according to Matt LaFleur. He said they couldn't overcome it. Now, guys, I hate that play.
I agree.
I'd like to hear from Domofsky or Schneidman or Wes or somebody to say, we discussed it and didn't request the pool report.
Yeah, for sure. My thing was this, though, and let's go Matt LaFleur here. I'm going to change it a little bit, because he goes, we couldn't overcome these fumble and the 7-0 deficit. Like, that's a mindset to me. When I heard that Matt LaFleur did to start his
I want to hear
conference.
the quote. I want to hear the quote. He said we couldn't overcome.
Yeah, he said that.
I think, Butchie, I thought that I interpreted that he meant all of the turnovers. We couldn't overcome those. I didn't.
Let's be careful about that. Luddy, can you find this?
Luddy's got it, because it's right there. He opened up the press conference with it.
I don't want my coach saying we couldn't overcome a single bad play. I heard LaFleur, Mike, say, hey, bad things happen in games, meaning we're accustomed to dealing with bad starts and things that don't go right away. Remember the Seattle game in the snow in the playoffs famously? That one started disastrous.
Down 14-0 less than 5 minutes into the game on 2 fumbles. Yeah.
Right. And it turns out
you were a much better team than Seattle.
I know. All right. Derek in Whitewater says it's simple. It was in Philadelphia. That's not why it was not overturned. That's a bleeping fact. That is part of what weighs into it, because they have women who are drunk, who are blowing a .38 on the breathalyzer, banging on the window of the press box, calling our coaches bald buggers. And it's like, that's Philly for you. These referees are influenced by the crowd. And if that game was in Green Bay, they overturned that. I believe that with every fiber in my body.
Yeah. I don't, but that's all right.
All right. Here's LaFleur. Go ahead. This is what he said about the play.
You can't start the way that we did, and to fumble the opening kick and then turn it into a touchdown and be down 7-0 from the jump. You know, it was obviously too much to overcome. But I appreciate the heck out of our guys.
That's what I mean.
Room.
Wow. That's
time out.
And I told you that. Yes. That I have
don't
a
like
problem
that
with.
in true Michael Scott fashion. I don't like that from my head coach, Mike Eller.
Yeah, I don't love that either. Listen, they never played well enough with the football. They never played well enough on offense to win the game, period. They had one guy on offense that played his ass off, and that was Josh Jacobs. I thought Jaden Reed played his ass off too. I shouldn't say one guy. But I'm talking about from the key positions. Jordan Love was just okay. And that was his 2024 season. He was just okay. There is only one quarterback that's not this season that wasn't a top 10 quarterback that's advancing to the second round. And that's CJ Stroud. And he wasn't a top 10 quarterback this year. He was a year ago.
Terrible down the stretch this year.
But he's the only not top 10 quarterback that advanced. And I know Matt LaFleur says, and he's not wrong on this when he says it's not just the quarterback, but Jordan Love was just above average this year. He's fine. You know, when we say if your quarterback position is fine, boy, you better be locked up in every other area. Love needs to be better. And I think he certainly has a chance to be, but he wasn't this year. This was not a shining moment season, and he didn't have a shining moment day yesterday. Whether it's decisions or ball placement, he wasn't very good yesterday. And you can't win that way. I thought Josh Jacobs was great. Jaden Reed was good. They need a number one wide receiver. We talked all training camp. Who's the number one? Do they need a number one? Well, I think as it bore itself out, they need a number one. They need a little offensive line help. They need a corner right now. Without Jair, they don't have a cover corner that is elite, and they need an edge. And right now, Lucas Van Ness is not that guy after 2 years. Rashawn Gary is not that guy. They need somebody who's nasty.
All right, Mike, I want you to elaborate why you believe they need a number one, true number one, because I want to hear your theory on this. I have my own logic behind it, but I want to hear yours.
When you have a situation where you have to have it, you got to have somebody you can go to. And the only way like last night when they were in third down situations or a fourth down situation, Tucker Kraft is your go-to. Tucker Kraft can't be your go-to. He needs to be the next. If they do cover up your go-to, then you look to Tucker Kraft because I think you can trust him. They don't have him. Romeo Doubs is sort of him, but without enough athleticism and size in him. And they need one that you can go to. And I don't think Christian Watson is that. I think Christian Watson is a great two, but I don't always trust him. I don't think he has great hands. I don't think he fights for the ball, great on 50-50 balls. They need a Devontae Adams. They need one of those guys to be that. And then the core, the rest of the group, Zabe, I think is really good if you have a one that's a separator.
Right, but you need the one because you need that mojo with your one.
Yeah.
You need the Batman Robin thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, when you need 5 yards.
You know where
you're going. That's why I'm already on the bring Devontae back wagon, because nobody wins in the first 2 yards like Devontae still with his release, and that's key. So I say let's hope the Jets have to cut him because they're super capped. They have the lowest cap space next year in the league. If they cut him, we can just buy Devontae because we got the money.
Sure.
Okay, we go buy Devontae. And then Jacobs is going to recruit Max Crosby, and we're going to trade a number one pick for Max Crosby. And everyone who wants to bitch about we don't trade shut up. We're giving up a valuable coupon. We're going to go get that guy. Now who's with?
One of the things I'll leave you this. I know the music is playing.
I know, but who's with me on that?
I'm with you. I'd be all for it. Yes.
I love what Wayne said at the end. I've said this a bunch of times that last year was we got a little trick. They skipped a step last year when they were 6-8. They're not a playoff team. They win the last 3. Skipped a step last year. This was the natural movement forward this year. They weren't good enough in the playoffs. Next year is a year to look at. I mean, that's when it's supposed to happen, and I think they'll have a real shot. We'll have to get over the incredible disappointment of what the finish was this year.
All right, Mike. You know what they say in the Bible: hate the sin, love the sinner. I love you. You're a sinner. You are still You are still blaspheming in the house of sports by thinking that replay is worth a bucket of warm spit. It's not. It's ruined sports on many levels. But one day you'll see the light. That day is not today, and I'm going to live with that. I'm going to live with that today. I just am. Today, noon to 3, the Mike Keller Show, right?